You're here. I'm already crying. That dance party, boy, that totally fires me up. I'm thinking about all of you so much, and it's such a gift to be here. Thank you for your time. Your time is the most valuable thing that you have. So you're here, and I don't take that for granted. I love this. This is my thing. I love to gather us all together. I was just thinking before we got started today that it's MLK Day, and we'll talk a little bit about it later on. And I was thinking about him as a 7-year-old, as an 8-year-old. And I was thinking about the goodness that he has and had, and that his soul continues to have. And I was thinking how it's time for all those good kids, the good kids, to be the ones to take the mic, to lead with compassion and empathy. It is time. Who's with me? I love you guys. Thank you for the hearts. Before we get started today, I want to know who's here. And usually people will say, where are you watching from? Are you in Arkansas? Are you in London? You can definitely tell us where you are, but I want to know more. 2 things. What is your zodiac sign? Not that I know that much about it, but I'm a Gemini. I'm a June baby. And I also want to know your favorite TV show of all time. So Gemini. And my favorite show of all time is Pivot. We were on a break. Friends, I love it. I watch it and rewatch it, and it makes me happy. Makes me happy. So I'm watching you. I'm looking at you guys in the comments. What's your favorite TV show of all time? And what is your zodiac sign? I'm just curious. Like, do we have a lot of Pisces in the house? Are there a lot of Libras in the house? Who's in the house? I want to hear it. Sag, Steph, of course you're a Sag. Sages get along with everyone. My oldest is right on the cusp, Sag and Scorp. I know Angela's a Gemini. Of course she is. And we both love Coca-Cola and a lot of other things. We're both also already crying like 6 minutes ago. Oh God, guys, welcome. You might cry over the next few days because this is what I seem to attract. The people who have the really big hearts, who feel a lot of things. Raise your hand if that's you. Type a 1 in the comments if that's you. That's me. Okay, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to say, we could really end it after this. Let's go. Are you ready? You've been assigned. You've been assigned and you know it. If you are in this world, that is all the confirmation that you need, that God needs you. You're needed and you know it. And that's why you're here. You're here because you've known it. You're here because your soul doesn't let you go. And I get that. So I'm here this week to do 2 things, to bring you home to yourself and to show you what's possible. I believe that leadership is vision, and that we as human beings, as souls in bodies, we reach for the highest branch that we can see. I want to show you a higher branch. I want to show you a path that feels like it's in alignment with you. You are a missing puzzle piece. My 3 daughters, we recently completed the biggest puzzle we've ever done, 750 pieces. And at the end, we were missing 1 piece. It did not feel complete. We looked under the couch, under the kitchen table. We were so frustrated until we found it. And when we put it in the puzzle, we felt that feeling of, that's it. Now it's whole. That's you. You are a one and only. Your fingerprints are unique. If there were twins, even twins have different fingerprints. What's the evolutionary need for that? If we were looking from science and nothing mystical, why do we need that? It is mystical. It is a reminder that you make a different imprint than anyone else, and it's needed. And you know it. And you were born to do one thing. which is to serve this world, to make it that complete, whole, beautiful puzzle. And if you don't do your job and you don't show up for your assignment, no one's going to do that. So this week, I'm here to bring you home to fully stepping into that. It is an energetic, it's a resonance. And I feel if you show up with me this week, you show up here, trust the process, you're going to start to come home deeper. And you might start to see things differently. You might start to trust the whisper within you. I want to tell you something else. God does not call on the qualified. He qualifies the called. God does not call the qualified. He qualifies the called. And we are all sitting here today because we feel called and we just want to be in that service, don't we? We don't want to be doing something that is out of alignment with our mission, with our purpose. And any of you who know me a little bit, my name is Kathy Heller. I host a podcast called Don't Keep Your Day Job. Why did I call it that? Because I don't believe in the day job myth. I think we've been sold a pack of lies. I believe in doing your life's work. And I've often said on the podcast that I searched my whole life for the opposite of sadness. I wanted to know what it was. And it's not happiness. It's meaning. It's contribution. Okay. So I believe that what's happened is we are told, get good grades, get a job, get a 401k, somewhere around the age of 41, 35, whatever. You're walking from your car to the office, you're pushing the elevator button and you go, why do I feel empty? Because you're not a body, you're a soul that has a mission. You're Moana, right? You got a call, you heard it. But your whole life, you're like, don't go out to that ocean, Moana. It's going to spit you out. Except it's not letting you let it go, is it? Okay, so we need you to do your work. All right. So over the next few days, we're going to do as much as we can. And I'm going to fill this. So are you ready? Buckle up. We're going to do some exercises. We're going to start to map out what the steps are for you to not just find your calling, but get paid to do your calling. Because I believe that there is a lie in the world that you either do what you love and starve, or you work for somebody else and you are miserable, and that's just the way that it has to be. No. We look for evidence of what we believe is true. I can show you the evidence that there are millions of people doing what they love and getting paid to do it. And that is a potential in the quantum field for you. That is here. That exists. Let's level up our consciousness. Let's really look at what's here for us, okay? And so I'm going to show you what it is that I've done, not only for myself, but I've helped thousands of people to do. Claim their calling and get paid to do it. Why do I believe that you can get paid and that you should get paid? Because then you don't have to do it this much of your time and put it on the side. You can do it full time, right? You could be in service full time. You can be then giving the world that which you came to give. And how awesome would that be? So we're going to talk about creating this whole new path. Before we dive into it, I felt like it might be cool to give you a little bit of context about my path. Like, who is this girl and why on earth does she have anything to share? So I believe that it's true that the easiest way to get from here to here is to find someone who did that and then like really pull that apart, right? And see like, what did they figure out? What's the shortcut? What's the cliff notes? Also, I want to give you context for like who the heck I am in case you don't know me and you've never heard of me before. So I'm Kathy. I have 3 daughters. I have a husband. We lived in Los Angeles for 18 years. During COVID, we moved to a smaller little town in South Florida where I actually grew up, and we are a little bit isolated here. My kids are in a pod. We have a teacher that comes to the house. That's it. And we have an ocean. And it's been really nice to actually pivot and slow down. I host a podcast, like I said, called Don't Keep Your Day Job. I wrote a book called Don't Keep Your Day Job. And I teach a signature program called Made to Do This. And it is about figuring out what you are made to do. And in 12 weeks, we go from idea to income. And we have helped so many people to do that which they set out to do in that program. It's a high touch, interactive program. Now, we open that program for enrollment 2 to 3 times a year, but I don't want to use this time to talk about that because I like to do this. I do a lot of things for free. I do a daily podcast just to give it. And I love doing this. So let's do this. And if you guys have questions, which you probably will, because I've already gotten some DMs, what's made to do this? How do I sign up? We'll talk about it at the end of the week. And you'll have a chance. For some of you, you're going to be like, I want to do the whole thing. It's like, great, we'll talk about it then, but let's do this now. And let's see how much I can pour into you and you can metabolize just from this. You with me? Okay. So here's a little bit of background of my story. So I came out to LA when I was 24 and I wanted to get a record deal. That was my dream. How many of you have a dream like that? So since I was a little kid, my parents would fight in the other room and I would listen to songs, Joni Mitchell, Carole King. I would write songs, sing them into my tape recorder. And that's kind of how I got through some of the pain in my growing up. My parents' marriage was really, really bad. There was a lot of violence in my house and I did not feel safe. I remember hearing the key to the door jiggling as my dad would come home and I would be scared. And my mom was really unhappy. And eventually my dad left and never came back. And I don't know if you ever saw the movie Hope Floats with Sandra Bullock, and there's a little girl on the driveway and she's like, Daddy, come back. So I lived that, right? That movie is very hard for me to watch, but I love the soundtrack, by the way. Anyway, my mom wound up going from bad to worse and she spiraled into a very, very serious depression for the rest of my growing up there. And she was actually suicidal. And I very much was alone, trying to just navigate life. So my mom would be in bed. I was a latchkey kid. I would come home with a key around my neck. I would, if I needed lunch, I would make it. If I had homework, nobody would check it. If I had a report card, forget it. If I needed to get to school, I'd figure that out. Very much kind of on my own and wanting to make my mom happy. So I'd pick flowers or bring them to her, bring her chocolate bars or try to do anything I could to get her out of bed. And when I was a little bit in my early teenage years, she tried to end her life. And we had been down that road before. And for the first time, instead of trying to cheer her up, I said, what about me? Right? I'm all by myself. And she said, you're not enough. I can't wake up for you. I feel nothing. And that was a defining moment for me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I must figure out why we're here on this planet, because from the way I'm looking at it, it seems like most adults grow up to seem like they're really, really unhappy. And why would I want to be in this body and grow up to be really unhappy? It seemed like painful and cruel. So I started to become a seeker, and then I became a finder. And I started looking for answers and reading books and going to therapy and starting to meditate and really like unrelenting looking for meaning. And I realized that the opposite, like I said before, of that sadness is purpose. We want so badly to be seen. We want so badly to feel that something we do contributes to somebody else. And I don't think my mom felt that way. My mom's gifts were kind of dying inside of her. In fact, in her high school yearbook, in the senior section, she was voted most talented in her class. And she was the lead in all of the drama productions. And she has an amazing voice and she's so beautiful. And she told me that she made a choice to be a mother versus having a dream, to be a wife, and to help him do his dream rather than having her dream. But that didn't work, did it? So I knew I would have to have a dream. So I came to LA, and a lot of times when we have a dream or a calling, we get in our own way because we believe it's all or nothing. And I did at the time because I didn't have a path. I didn't see possibilities. And I'm hoping this week I can show you possibilities. But I believed that it was either Beyonce or bust. I was either going to become Taylor Swift or I would never get to do anything I liked. It seemed very, very binary to me. So I went to LA to try to figure it out. And before I went to LA, I actually had gone to Jerusalem on a trip for 2 weeks, but I stayed for almost 2.5 years. And that was really helpful because I had a sense of meaning with me from those 2.5 years there. And when I got to LA, I was kind of dropped in to a mystical kind of an experience. And I think that that helped a lot because I do believe that the world is really a hologram and no two people are in the same reality because we cast and project and broadcast upon the world that which we think and believe. And that's what we look for and that's what we find. So I was coming from a kind of a mystical place, which was actually a good thing. So I started looking for that record deal and I wrote mediocre songs and I got a day job. And then the songs got a little bit better. And then they got a little bit better. And I kept trying to get that meeting with that right person. And you guys, I got a record deal. I got signed to Interscope. I was actually with Lady Gaga. She was recording Paparazzi. I'm your biggest fan, I'll follow you. And I was like, she's good. You guys, she's gonna be really successful. They're like, thanks, Kath. We know. She was amazing. I was in the studio that night. And then 3 months later, I was driving my little blue Saab and I got called from Ron Fair and he said, are you on the freeway? I said, yeah. He goes, can you call me when you get home? I said, what do you have to tell me? Tell me now. He said, Jimmy Iovine is going to drop you from the label and I'm really sorry. And I feel how talented you are. And there's something in you. You will figure it out. And I'm like, what? And I pulled over to the side of the road and I was crying so hard because I felt like I had met the Wizard of Oz and that was it. I had no other idea of how to get home. And I brushed myself off and I was like, I'm going to find another record deal. And I did a whole bunch of things until I had lunch with Craig Kalman, who was running Atlantic Records. And I said, what do you think? And he was like, I like it. I love these songs. Let's do it. It never worked. 6 weeks later, he's like, I sent it to every A&R person on my team. Nobody really gets it. Nobody sees the path. I'm going to have to let it go. And I'm like, all right, Kath, give it up. And that was the day I really fell apart because that was the day all those, you have two voices. You have like your higher self and then the lower self. And all those ugly voices were like, see, Kath, you were being naive. This is where you give up. This is where you go do that other binary thing, which is you're not going to be a rock star. You're going to do something that you don't like and you get a 401k and you're going to be miserable like the rest of humanity. And I was like, that sucks. And that really felt like all that was on the table. And so I got a bunch of jobs and I felt like a Barbie doll. Like, there's like veterinarian Barbie and like astronaut Barbie. Like I just got jobs after jobs after jobs and tried to put on a costume and like have a job. And none of it felt like me. I worked in an interior design office. I worked in a casting office. I worked on the Ghost Whisperer pilot. Do you guys remember that show with Jennifer Love Hewitt? I worked at a commercial real estate firm. I did all these things and I was like, this sucks. And one day I walked from my car to the office. I was wearing a blazer and high heels, which I don't even own a pair of high heels. And I saw myself in the mirror and I said, I don't recognize myself. And I just burst into tears. And I walked into my boss's office and I said, I'm going to quit my job now. And he's like, what's your plan? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to die if I don't quit. Like having the childhood that I had, I couldn't just be okay with it. I know some people can like read People magazine, watch Netflix, like have a job they don't like, and they like kind of don't notice. I couldn't not notice. It was calling to me. I kept saying, I know that there's something that I'm supposed to do with my life. What is it? And I wanted the path so badly. In fact, a couple months later, I was out of a job anyway. My friend and I, we drove up to San Francisco from LA, and Oprah was having this like Oprah University Day. And there was all these great speakers there, like Nate Berkus and Susie Orman and Martha Beck. And I was sitting in Martha Beck's lecture, whatever you want to call it. And she talked about her son who has Down syndrome and how magical he is. And I was amazed by her. And I was crying so hard. And then Oprah showed up at the end of the day, which was a surprise. And she came out and said, every day she asked God, use me, please use me. And I walked outside of that event, sat on the stoop and bawled my eyes out. I was like, I know there is something inside of me I'm supposed to do instead of sitting at a desk. I was begging God to show me a path. I'm like, please use me, please. And I decided to do something I had never done. And I asked a new question, which was, is there any other way for me to do what I love besides being a rock star or work for someone else? Is there anything else? And I said, no, I'm going to go home tonight and I'm going to start researching it. I start researching like, how do artists make a living? Yes, they could get a record deal, but that's like the top of that little tiny iceberg. So I'm like, what else is going on? I saw this article at the time. There was all these artists licensing songs to One Tree Hill, which was on Grey's Anatomy, Coke commercials. And I was like, what's licensing a song? What's that? And I'm like, what if I did that? What if I did that? And so I decided to put all of my heart and energy into that. And guess what? I did it. It worked. I couldn't believe it. My hand would shake, by the way. I would call Paramount, Lionsgate, NBC to try to figure out who the person was to talk to. And the first 7 times I felt really scared and really uncomfortable. And I finally figured out I have to talk to the music supervisor for film and TV, for this, for that, whatever. Started writing down their names on a legal pad, one step at a time. And you know what I realize is we think that the greatest resource is our resources that we're lacking. And we think the reason I don't have what I want is because I'm lacking resources. I'm lacking the money. I'm lacking the connections. I'm lacking the whatever, fill in the blank. I realized truly that our greatest resource is our resourcefulness. It was like, you know what is the most amazing resource on the planet? Enthusiasm, passion, compassion, grit. And I was like, I got that. Let's go. And it really was life or death because I knew my mother was not okay. And I knew that I wasn't willing to sign up for that. So I figured it out. What wound up happening is I wrote songs for all these ads. McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Target. I wrote songs for Pretty Little Liars, Switched at Birth, The Office, all these things. And I have a little show and tell. I wound up getting featured in Billboard magazine. There I am. There's like a full page article, writing your own check. Okay. And that was really fun. And then I got featured again a couple of years later in another full page story. This is in Variety. The first one was Billboard. And this is again about how I did that. Okay. Well, what was really cool is that I was doing that basically for 10 years. For 10 years, I couldn't believe it. I felt like I had cracked the code because I was not recognized if I went to go get a sandwich or anything like that. But I was making, no joke, I was making like $300,000 a year doing something I loved. Doing something I loved. Can you believe it? I felt like I beat the system. Holy smokes. So fun. So fun. I got married. I had a couple kids, writing music. I would go to the studio, write, then I would pitch songs to film and TV, ad agencies. So fun, amazing. And then these articles came out and I thought, oh, maybe I'll get a record deal. No. What happened was I started getting email after email after email from other songwriters saying, can you teach me how to do that? Can you show me how to do that? And I was like, no, I don't know how to teach you that. And then my friend, he's actually best friends with my husband. He came over, one of our friends, he was reading, he's like, I was reading Variety and I read this article about you. He's like, you're missing a huge opportunity. I said, what is it? He said, there's thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of songwriters who would want to know how you do what you do. Why don't you help them? And I was like so precious about my identity. I was like, I'm an artist. Okay. Like I don't do anything but do music and make music. But it kept knocking. And I realized, wait a minute, why would I say no to helping people? So I started doing it for free. I started literally like twice, 3 times a week. Artists would come over, bring me a cup of coffee, say we'd meet at a coffee shop, and I would be like, hi, oh, I know you through this person. Oh, cool. All right, here's everything that you need to do. Here's everything that I've learned. Here's what's worked for me. And people would write me back. You don't know how amazing that was. The lunch that we had, it changed everything for me. And I was like, cool, cool. And then I was on someone else's podcast. This is years before I had my own podcast. And this woman reaches out to me and she's like, I live 3 hours north of you in San Luis Obispo. She goes, I just heard you talk about your career. Could you ever do an online class and teach it? And I'm like, online? Sleazeball. No, I'm an artist. I'm a poet. I'm a mom. I'm not going near the online world. I didn't have an Instagram. I didn't have anything. I was actually pregnant with my third daughter. She's 4 now. So this is 4.5 years ago. And I'm like, I'm not doing anything online. And then she wrote me again. She's like, why not? There's other artists who can't be in LA. They can't come see you. They want to know. Why wouldn't you teach them? I'm like, why don't I? Like, why don't I? So I'm pregnant belly, hot LA summer day. And I'm like, I'll just do it. I didn't know what I was doing. Everything online to me was like, you have to be a guy in front of a jet who's like, want to make $1 million bucks? And I was like, that's never going to be me. But I was like, I'll just be myself. So I did a webinar, although I don't think it was a webinar because I didn't have a single slide. Like you'll notice this week, there's no like fill in the blank. Here's your slideshow. Like I can't do that. I don't understand it. And I don't think it works, by the way. Anyway, we'll talk about that later. So I did my first webinar, which was me to camera, no slides, telling my story. And I made an offer. I'm like, look, if you want me to teach you how I license music to film and TV, I'll do it. And I made up the offer on the spot. I was like, 12 months, come work with me for 12 months. It's a group class. It'll be $1,000, $997. I'm like, we'll see what happens. Well, you guys, that night, 147 people signed up for the program. And I was like, what? Oh my God. And I was like 7.5 months pregnant. I was like, okie doke. I do the program. It's so fun. I loved teaching. I really liked it. I was like, why did I say no to this for so long? And I still was writing music. And you know what happened? My own writing career grew from it. I got more opportunities. I was like, this is so crazy how we just cut off abundance because we're like, I'm only this. I can't be multidimensional and multi-hyphenate. I can only do one thing. So I started teaching the class. We launched it a second time. We decided, let's do 2 cohorts. We'll have one, then we'll have another. We launched the second one. That one, we had 440 people sign up. I'm like, I just made 440 grand. What the heck? Then my first student gets a license and I'm bawling. He's like, Kath, I was about to give up my music. I was working for an insurance company. I just licensed a song for $52,000 to Starbucks. I'm going to Europe. I'm like, what? Oh my God. And then the next person and the next person. I'm like, this is insane. This feels so good. I was like, oh my God, ding, 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 ding. Meaning, purpose. I'm helping other people. This feels really good. Then one of my students, Amy Loftus, she's like, hey, she writes me, you should start a podcast. I go, what would I do a podcast about? The music business? I don't really want to do that. She goes, no, you should do a podcast about how every human who wants to figure out how to make a living from their passion can do that because that's what you're teaching us. And I was like, done, let's do it. My daughter was like a minute old, newborn, two other kids. Like, let's just do it. Start the podcast. You guys, the podcast is now 20 million downloads later. It turned into a multi-million-dollar empire. And now I've gotten to teach all of these incredible people how to use the same tools that I used in my music career, which is not, last time I checked, the most easy path. No one's like, oh, you want to make money easily? Go be a songwriter. So I figured if I could do it with songwriting, I could help other people. And I did. And I helped people start businesses doing hand lettering, knitting dolls, logo design, yoga teacher training, vegan. Like, it's like unbelievable how the same principles apply over and over again. I love it. I love it. And I've gotten to meet so many cool people on the podcast. I've interviewed people like the makeup artist, Bobbi Brown. I'm wearing her eyeliner right now. Matthew McConaughey's been on the podcast. The Property Brothers, so hot and so nice. Anyway, it's been an amazing journey. I loved every second of it. And I hope that that gives you guys a little bit of context into who the heck is this person. Now, we are going to go into you, okay? How are you going to figure out how to make a living doing something that makes you feel so much meaning and so good? And not just a little bit of money, not just enough. We're going to talk about money later in the week and why we need to rewrite our money story and really bring that money in, right? We'll talk about that later. But how can we make a lot of money and be a nice person and do something we love? That's what we're doing this week, okay? So I want to start with one important thing, which is people tend to think that business and hobbies are not that different. It's just that, well, if you have a hobby, sometimes you can make money from it. But I want to just kind of peel it apart for a second. What I learned is that the difference between a hobby and a business is that if there's a business, it involves some kind of money. And that means somebody's giving you money, which means somebody needs or wants what you're making. So a business is about solving problems. It's about making something someone needs or wants. You could do that with a better cup of coffee. You could do that with making candles that have quotes on them. You could do that with being a floral designer. You could do that with teaching yoga. You could do that with a vegan cooking class. You can do that with a lot of things, solve someone's pain point. But I do want to keep that in this discussion, that really at the heart of successful business is radical empathy. And what I got as a songwriter is that when I would call Paramount or Lionsgate or NBC or Ogilvy and Mather ad agencies, everybody would have the same reaction, which is, you know, Kath, this is really refreshing, this conversation. And I would say, why? What part? And they would say, well, you keep asking what we're working on, what story we're telling, what kinds of songs we need. They're like, most artists, 99.9% of the artists never ask us, what's the project about? They just say, here's a song. Can you use it? Can you use it? So it's a little bit backwards. And I realized through the beginning of time, my friend Jeff Goins wrote a book called Real Artists Don't Starve. Artists don't starve. When you think through history, Michelangelo, right? Mozart, these people were some of the richest people in society. We've glorified the idea of a starving artist because of operas like La Boheme, which is what Rent is based on. But really, that's not the case. But why have artists, even today, so many of the richest people in the world, like Beyonce and Paul Simon and Alan Menken, they're artists, right? Why are artists paid to do what they love? Because it's not about me, 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 me. It's we together, right? It's like, it's not look at me, it's come with me. Okay. So what is that about? It's about when I was calling an ad agency, I did care. What story are you telling? And they'd say, well, we're doing a thing for Coke for Christmas. And it's all about magic and possibility. And I'd be like, oh, I'll be right back. And I would go to the studio and I'd write a song about finding that little crack and opening your heart, just the eye of a needle, so that you could be open to possibility. And they would go crazy. They'd go, that's exactly what we wanted. How on earth could I have made the thing before I knew what they wanted, right? So we're going to talk about that as we go through the week and how you can do that as a practice consistently, because that's one thing that's really important in a business. I want to talk a little bit about, we're going to Marie Kondo this throughout this week. Who's with me to go through the journey and trust the process of this week? It's going to be a process. We're going to do a little bit every day, okay? So Marie Kondo, right? What does she do? She takes everything out of a closet, and what happens? You're like, Marie, my room's a mess. It gets a little messier before it gets cleaner, right? Because part of tidying up is taking everything out and looking at what's there. And then we can let go of what we don't need, right? So we're going to start to do some practices. So get a pen and paper. And before we do it, I just want to say two things. Number one, I do believe that really becoming who we're meant to be is about unbecoming all the things that are just not us. I think that we've spent so much time being conditioned to get the love and approval of our parents, of our community, of our society, that we've like turned off the volume to our whisper, to our intuition. And we need to kind of learn how to peel away what isn't who we are so we could just be who we are. I also want you to know that if anything that I say or anything that comes from this resonates as true over the next 5 days, it's because you knew that already. That's to me what great teachers do. They remind you of what you know, and they give you the confidence to trust what you know, because you're whole, you're not broken. In fact, let me just say, you are completely welcome here at this table. All parts of you are welcome, not just the shiniest parts. I mean the broken pieces. I mean the parts of you that you feel like you need to hide. No, that only makes you more capable. That only makes you more of a candidate to do good in this world. Who do you want to be friends with? Who do you want to be a leader? The person who's got it all together and perfect, or the person who's like, I feel what you feel. I've been broken too. I understand what that's like. I've had to deal with that. I've had to overcome that. Yes. I want to go out to lunch with my friend who's a hot mess. I don't need to go out with my friend who's like, I am perfect. My husband and I are perfect. We have sex every day. I eat the perfect avocado toast. My kids are perfect. My life is perfect. It's like, it's so unrelatable. And that to me really just reeks of shame. It's a person who's like, I can't really let you know what life is actually like. So I have to work really hard to show you that everything is actually different than it is. You're welcome here. And by acknowledging you, I also want to just say real quick before we dive into our first exercise, 11-year-old you is so damn proud of you. You have weathered so many storms and so many nights that felt like they just might not end. And you're here. So let's stop thinking that we need to be different and crush our goals and change all of our habits. It's like, how about we honor how far we've come, how much we've soldiered through. Let's honor that. I actually want to, I want to begin there. I want to go back, okay, for our first little exercise. I want you to, who's coming with me? You guys ready? Jerry Maguire, who's coming with me? Okay, we're gonna do a little meditation, like 1-2 minutes. You got this? You got this. Hand on heart. Hand on heart. First of all, let's actually put both of our hands on our heart and let's just turn toward ourselves some love and compassion for our beautiful warrior selves that continue to rise and show up through all of it, through everything that's happened already. The thing that happened before we were 10 that broke our heart and we kept breathing. The thing that happened by the time we were 24 and we kept breathing. Let's honor this beautiful self, this self who just this past year has lived through one of the hardest times in history. Let's give her some love. Okay, now I want you to pull up in your mind's eye an image of yourself at 7 years old. Find her, see her. What is she wearing? What's her haircut like? Is she missing any teeth? I want you to see yourself at 7. I want you to take a moment to pretend that in your mind's eye, your 7-year-old self is sitting on a bench beneath some beautiful trees. And you, as you are right now, come walking down a path. And you're walking, and it's a beautiful, perfect, crisp day. And as you walk a little bit further down the path, you see her. You see little you. And she gets up and she starts to walk toward you. what do you want to say to her? Tell her. Now ask her if there's anything she wants to say to you. I want you to ask her if you can give her a hug. And give her a hug. And tell her how proud you are of everything that she's gone through that she did not know was coming. And just stand and look at her for a second. Look at how adorable she is. Look at how effortless it is to see her magic. Take that in. Now, when you're ready, open your eyes. And you don't have to share it in the comments. In fact, I want to do something right now. Type your name in the chat to sign off on the confidentiality of this space. For the next five days, let's create a really safe space. Let's create a place where we all feel that we can open our heart and be safe and be vulnerable. I think the world could really use that. And maybe, just maybe, there's a power in a few thousand people coming together in this way, open-hearted. Maybe that will reverberate into the world. Boy, could we use that. So type your name to sign off on the confidentiality. Now, you don't have to share, but if you want to share, maybe write down one of the two things. What did she say to you? Or what did you say to her? I want you to stay with that for a second, because it's so easy for us to question ourselves. Who am I to do this? Is there room for me? It's already been done before. Nobody wants to hear from me. This week, that's all going to change. This week, we're coming home to that 7-year-old kid who is so obviously magical, and she deserves to get to steer. We left her a few yards back, didn't we? We're not doing that anymore. So you're going to get homework every day of this challenge. And I give you homework because I think that which we implement, we actually start to integrate. So every day after I'm finished with this class, which will be every day at noon Eastern, there will be homework posted in this Facebook group. And then you will be responding to the homework in the Facebook, in that thread. We're actually going to do giveaways every day. Anyone who does their homework will be entered into a giveaway. And sometimes we'll give away like a Spiritual Gangster sweatshirt, like I'm wearing one that says grateful. Sometimes we'll give away like beautiful bracelets like this. Sometimes we'll give away some Morgan Harper nickels. We'll give away really cool things. We also will be giving away scholarships to Made to Do This, which is my signature program. So I would say do your homework, because it feels really good to feel like you've accomplished something, and you might win something amazing, including a scholarship to the program and a lot of other fun stuff. We good? Also, just so you know, there are a beautiful group of mentors in this. There actually, some of them are right here now, and you've each been assigned a mentor, which means that through the course of the week, if you want to process with somebody, DM that person, you want to get that person's answer to a question, you just need someone to hold space for you. These are people who work with me on my team, and they also do their own cool things in the world. And so they can support you. And so you've all been assigned a mentor. And if you have any question who your mentor is, you can put it in the chat and they'll find you if you need any help. Okay. All right. So pen and paper. Okay. We're going to keep that 7-year-old kid right here, right on our heart. And I want you now to do for me a list. 10 things on the list. It's 10 sentences that all begin the same way, and you're going to fill in the ending of the sentence. And it starts like this. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would. If I didn't have to be perfect, I would. 10 times. Stream of conscious. Whatever's there. Let's do some Marie Kondo. Let's just bring everything out of the heart. If I didn't have to be perfect, what would I do? Fill in the blank, fill in the blank, fill in the blank. I'm going to give you a minute to do that right now. If I didn't have to be perfect. And if you want to share a couple of them in the chat, we would love to see what you come up with. If I didn't have to be perfect, what? Would you write a book? If I didn't have to be perfect, I'd start a podcast. If I didn't have to be perfect, I'd open a bakery. If I didn't have to be perfect, what comes up? What comes up? Write it down. Okay. I'm going to give you a minute to do that. You guys are doing great. I can already feel the energetic. It's very, very high vibration. Thank you for that. Keep going. Okay. So do you want to share one of the things? If I didn't have to be perfect, I would. In this moment, I'm just saying, in this moment with your 7-year-old self as a co-pilot, you right now, what would you say? If I didn't have to be perfect, I would. You know what I'd do? I'll tell you why, because typically we say, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with my life. I don't know. I don't know is often actually a limiting belief. A lot of times we do know, but we've believed 2 lies that keep us from knowing our knowing. It's either one of 2 lies. What I really want to do, I'm not good enough to do. Or what I'd really want to do is not possible. So I'll go back to saying, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. I felt that way when I was working at those different jobs. I kept being like, I don't know what I want to do. Well, I kind of did know, right? As a songwriter, all the songs I wrote, you heard them before. I'm not afraid to be brave. Let your colors shine. Heart of a hero. I was doing this then, but with music. I knew that what I wanted to do was pour into other people and make them feel seen and heard and lift to rise. That's what I wanted to do. So I found now a few different ways to do that. But I want to sometimes go back and take the overwhelm out of this. And tomorrow is going to be a really good day for us because I'm going to show you, in career day, and you're like, oh, I'm going to show you different, really doable ways that you can start to do what you love. And I think the light bulbs are going to start to go on more and more over the 5 days, but trust the process. Okay. I've done this before, so I kind of have it all to like what I think each day should be. So I'm hoping it will help. All right. So full-time food journalist. I love that. Hi, Michael. What else did you guys say? Photography, writing a book. Very cool. What else did you guys say? Write music. So good. Okay. These are so good. Okay, let's do another one. You're going to number your paper 1 to 5. 5 dream lives. 5 dream lives. And don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. So it might be like, I want to open a bed and breakfast. I want to, whatever. I fill it in. What are the 5 things? 5 dream lives. I want to be a travel writer. What would be the 5 dream lives if you could have any job, any career, any way of making a difference in this world? What would that look like? Write it down. 5 things. And once you write those down, what I want you to do is I want you to literally close your eyes, hand on heart. Body doesn't lie. Body keeps the score. Remember that. So I want you to think about each one of the 5, and I want you to literally like picture yourself in that future, like doing that thing 1 through 5, one at a time. And I want you to notice in your body, which one feels the most like constricted and which one actually feels a little bit like expansive. And you don't know why, it doesn't matter why, but for whatever reason, one makes you feel a little bit of that expansion, butterflies, something like that. And I want you to circle that one. whatever one that is. And guess what? It doesn't matter. It can change. We're just looking for what's there. We're looking for clues. Okay. Next thing I want you to do, and the reason I move quickly is because A, we have an hour every day, and B is because I actually don't want you to overthink. I want you to just like, what comes up, trust that first, like Malcolm Gladwell, he was on my podcast recently. We talked about blink. Like, what's that initial thought? What's that initial gut feeling? Go with it. Go with it. Trust it. So now a list of 2. And with this one, number the page 1 to 2. And I want you to think of 2 people who you would love to switch places with, who has a career that you're like, that, oh my God, that person, Rachel Ray, switch, done, would love it. Or who, I don't know, fill it in. Jimmy Choo, me, I want to do that. Not me, but like who would be 2 people that you would love to swap with? Because, oh my God, that would be like the coolest career. Awesome. So tell us if you want, and you're going to have time to go through these exercises in your homework. Okay. So that'll be really cool. One thing I want you to do now also, as long as you have your pens out, I want you to write yourself a permission slip that you're going to keep by you for the rest of the 5 days. And you're going to be like, what does it mean, a permission slip? Well, you're going to notice, and I want you to notice with compassion, without judgment, that as we move through the 5 days, there might be a tendency to start to want to be perfect, want to have the right answer, want to do it a certain way, want to put pressure on yourself. I want to give you a permission slip to be messy. I believe that the only reason that anyone I've interviewed, over 350 millionaires and billionaires who've done amazing things, from Howard Schultz to Mandy Moore to Jenna Fisher to everyone in between, we have to allow ourselves the grace to iterate, to have a creative process. If you go back and look at Picasso, look at his early works, and you won't start to see what you would identify as Picasso for years later, because he had to start to show up and draw. And then it became what we know that it is today. We have to leave space to be messy. So I want you to write yourself a note. Dear Kathy, you write it to yourself. Dear Abby, dear Sarah, write it to yourself. I give you permission to play. Keep going. I give you permission to be messy. Here's the third line. You ready? I give you permission to make mediocre things. I give you permission to open your heart and dream. And I give you permission to trust the process. And sign it. Sign it. And because today is Martin Luther King Day, I wanted to say, it's interesting because I gave a talk last year before the pandemic, and I spoke about him, and it wasn't even MLK Day, but this always comes to me, this thought, because my friend Todd Herman was on my podcast, and he told me something which I just thought was amazing. He told me how, we always try to prepare and we overdo it, and we make ourselves crazy, and we put so much pressure on ourselves. And he was giving an example of how some of the greatest things in life have come when people give themselves the grace to not have a certain outcome, or not memorize, or not be perfect, or whatever. Some of the greatest things happen from like a divine download, from just being in the moment. And he gave this example of Dr. King, and I couldn't believe it. He said, do you know that in the famous speech, which is quoted and was heard around the world, he said the day before, he said he already had the speech written. Every line, he had rehearsed it and re-rehearsed it. He knew exactly what he was going to say. he felt this moment. He knew what this moment was going to be, and he wanted to make sure he didn't leave anything out. He said, except the only line that was not on the page. I have a dream. Oh my God, this makes me cry. He said he got up there, looked out at the crowd, and what just came in the moment, which was so powerful and more important and simpler and to the point, was, I have a dream. I have a dream. And here it is, right? We have stopped dreaming. Now, why did we do that? For good reason. The cost of admission to greatness is actually courage. It's not perfect. It's not perfection. It's courage. He is who he is, and we honor him today for his courage and vulnerability. There's nothing that's a higher vibration. There's nothing that will change the world more than an open heart. Than an open heart. And for most of us, by the age of 11 or 17 or whatever it is, our sweet little hearts were broken in 1725 pieces. And we have a way of surviving. And one of the greatest ways that we've learned to survive is to say, I'm shutting my heart. Closing it up. And the way we do that is sometimes we'll have this strategy, which is, oh, I'm fine. I don't actually want it. I don't really want anything. This is fine. It's fine. It's fine. No, it's not fine. No, it's not. No, you're not fine. That's a lie. But boy, is it less threatening to say that I'm fine, because if I'm not fine, oh, there I go. My heart's open. What does the kid in school do when he has a crush on the girl and the other kids find out? He's like, whatever, I don't even care if she likes me. What if he's like, I care so much. I'm in love with this girl. Now he's vulnerable, right? What about the kid who's like, hey, I do want you to be my friend. I'm not cool if you're not cool. I actually care. Oh, I'm vulnerable. So when you're 4 and you reach your arms out and your parent walks out the door, that little kid is in so much pain. That little kid's like, oh, I know what I'll do. I just won't love that deeply anymore. That'll help me, right? Or when you have a dream and you turn in your work in the 7th grade art fair and your teacher criticizes you, you go, oh, that's it. I'm never going to really want for anything that much. I'll just lower my standard and lower the stakes, right? So what about having a dream, right? And what if we actually said, I do have a dream and I do want it and it's not okay and I'm not fine? That's actually pretty human. And that's where leadership is born. And the reason I called this week, It's Your Turn, is because it's your frickin' turn. Clearly, the world could stand to have really, 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 really beautiful leadership and open hearts. And I'm going to show you over the course of this week how you can make a living doing what you love without a fancy funnel, without 100,000 followers, without any of the things that you've been convinced that you're going to need, without a perfect hairdo, without a whatever, without being too young, being too old, none of it. Open heart, high vibration, vulnerability, serving other people. Tomorrow, we're going to start to talk about what are the different ways that we can take the things that for whatever reason light us up and how can we use it, right? I love doing music and I found a way to find an investor, a client, so that I could do what I love to do, right? Same way that John Williams was like, I love doing music. Maybe I should talk to Steven Spielberg and find out what he's working on and see if I can help with a vision that he has and I can use my talent. Oh my God, now I'm being paid. Michelangelo, he was like, I love to paint. But what if I found somebody who wants me to paint something and they would pay me? Oh my God, what an honor. So I don't know the last time you went to the Sistine Chapel, but it's so gorgeous. You can't even talk in there. You have to whisper. That's how beautiful it is. It's beautiful. Somebody told him what to paint. Somebody told him where to paint and paid him very well. He died with over $50 million in his wallet. That was before inflation. Okay. He was a billionaire doing things that other people wanted. That's what artists do. That's what every person in business does. We solve problems, we find ways, we find solutions, we connect, we make stories, we connect the dots for people. We're going to do it this week. We're going to talk about what real marketing is, what it really means to sell. Selling is service. We're going to talk about the steps. Are you with me? Who's in for the full 5 days? All right. So you are going to get homework in a little while, and you're going to do the homework. Do it, because I'm going to post, not only are we going to post what the homework is in just a little bit, we're also going to post what the giveaways are. Everybody who does the homework will get put in a raffle for the giveaways. We'll choose 3 people to win, and we're going to do another giveaway and another giveaway. And not only will you be winning some really cool things, we're going to be having scholarships available for my program Made to Do This. If you have any questions about any of the things that we talked about, find your mentor, speak to your mentor. I had so much fun with you. It's only day 1. And I really, I just love the energy right now so much in this group. It's so sacred to me to see people who've never met each other, who are having conversations like this. So we are going to start building upon it. Tomorrow, we're going to look at what are the different ways, whether you're in a service-based business, whether you're in a maker type business, whether you want to be on a content journey, creating blogs and podcasts. I'm going to show you how I've been able to just use my heart truly and lean into the authenticity. It's not about lots and lots of followers. It's about depth, not width, and how I've literally been able to do that with my music, with my podcast, with programs. And I've been able to make millions of dollars. I want to show you. And it's not just me, thank goodness. There's all these other examples, and we're going to start to look at it under a microscope. We're starting here. We're not ending here. So if you're like, I didn't get my question answered, there's 4 more days. Okay. So do your homework. I want to see it. The homework is cool. Some of it is to share with us what you wrote, but there's one extra piece in the homework, and I'm going to leave you with this. I want you to get a photo of yourself at 7. That's going in the homework. So go find it, because I want to see a thread filled with those kids. I want those kids to have their moment. I wonder how many more Dr. Kings there are. I wonder how many more people are going to create something that's going to make other people smile, even if it's just making gorgeous art. I want to know. I want to see those kids. So let's bring them into this challenge. Let's look at their faces. All right. I love you guys. Thank you for your time. It means the world to me. And if you're like, who the heck is Kathy? And I want to do some research, you can follow me on Instagram at Kathy.Heller, and you can listen to the podcast, which is free. And we do daily episodes. Today, Donald Miller is on the podcast, and he's fantastic. I love you guys very much. I'll be back when? Tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. And I will be looking for you and your homework and your photos and all the cool stuff that we're going to be posting later for our homework today in a little while. God bless.